I have 3 different videos that I want to share with you from men that speak on how dangerous the patriarchy is. And the patriarchy is a system where men are in charge. Men are in charge in the home. Men are in charge typically in leadership roles like government. Men are in charge of moral values like the church, the mosque, the synagogues, all of that. Men and boys are held to a higher social standing. So this harms so many people. So I want to share with you these videos. And like I said, these are men speaking. So some of these men do know and understand that men that put themselves on a higher plane, that act like men are the ones that should be in charge, they are harming people because they see women and children as property to be used and abused and discarded how they want to. So let's go ahead and watch this first video. Whoo, he drops the mic when he says that patriarchy and PDF files go hand in hand.
Pedophilia is the price that we are paying for unchecked patriarchy. Let me say this again. Pedophilia is the price we are all paying as a society for unchecked patriarchy, because it's the same system that said a woman is subordinate to me, a child is subordinate to me, and my sex is superior and an accessory to my masculinity. So therefore, the fulfillment of this desire is what validates my existence. And this is a dynamic duo. We overlook the fact that when man granted himself sovereignty, complete sovereignty over women, he also granted himself complete sovereignty over the body of a woman and a child. We overlooked how this ideology is actually oppressive to youth, because children are not taught to have dignity. They're not taught to be expressive, have opinions or emotions. They're only taught and expected to be submissive, just like the woman. You have to pay attention to the hierarchy. The man is sovereign, the woman is inferior, the child is inferior as well. But then again, the boy is superior, then the girl is inferior. And this opened the door even wider for little girls to be abused. Patriarchy really never had any accountability, so of course it's always the little girl's fault that she was sexualized as early as possible. This also means that younger men are not safe either, because male dominance doesn't discriminate, nor does it stop at women. That's just the start. Though the hierarchy says that the man is sovereign, the little boy is still within the child category, making him inferior to the adult male. Think about men at higher levels of authority abusing younger men. Think about the prison rape epidemic of the 80s and 90s that targets specifically younger men. But when you think about it, right, patriarchy never really told us that children were off limits. Because see, patriarchy and consent cannot go together. Morality and standards cannot exist within an ideology that was built off the objectification and hatred of an entire gender. An entitled mind never needs to ask for permission. The grandiose sense of importance needs no accountability whatsoever. This ideology is what perpetuates sexual crimes against young children. This ideology is what perpetuates grown men buying the OnlyFans of a young woman that just turned 18. This kind of thinking perpetuates child trafficking. This kind of thinking is what made that man go on the internet and say that if him and a collective group of men were stranded on an island with a 14-year-old girl, they will eventually abuse her. Furtherance of toxic male dominance is what upholds these atrocities, where patriarchy is you can expect pedophilia to be at the party right along with it. So instead of complaining about the trafficking, the allegations, the abuse, we know what needs to be healed first. Know that.
All right, I know it's cliche when we say this, but the patriarchy does harm males, and it does so because it doesn't allow them to fully flesh out their feelings and be vulnerable and have friends. And we're seeing the impact of this because feelings and emotions get put in the realm of the woman. So these men don't know how to be emotionally intelligent, and that is harming all of us. So I want you to go ahead and watch this next video. This next video is very clutch as well.
Ladies, let me tell you a secret that most men will never admit out loud. Everything a man chases, money, power, muscles, even women, comes down to one surprising thing. And after I tell you, you'll see men differently. Did you know that men have 4 different forms of currency amongst ourselves that we only use to buy one thing? Pause the video now and leave a comment if you can guess what that one thing is before I reveal it. The 4 forms of currency are money, influence, physical prowess, and women. If a man sees another man with money, he wants it. If he sees another man with influence, he wants it. If he sees another man in peak shape, he wants it. And if he sees another man with women or multiple women, he wants that too. Each of these are a form of currency, but the one thing men are really buying with it all is the approval and love of other men. And this is why, as a 37-year-old man, I don't make friends with men who can't talk about their feelings, because I refuse to jump through hoops chasing the very thing that almost all men are secretly craving. Bonus thought, I don't think society teaches men to like or love women. I think it teaches us to use you.
And now finally, I want you to watch this video from this, I think he's South Korean, this South Korean man. He's speaking about what happens when there is a gender imbalance. Now, we know what's going on in South Korea. South Korea literally has the worst birth rate out there. It is like at 0.72 right now. It's terrible. And many of these Asian countries have such a low birth rate because they have put boys and men on such a higher pedestal than women and girls. And it has jacked up their birth rates. It's jacked up their population because these men, there's so many extra men that they don't have anybody to even pair up with. So they have jacked themselves up, and these countries are in their find out season because of patriarchy and putting men and boys at a higher standing. So let's go ahead and watch this video.
The year I was born, 1990, was the year when tens of thousands of girls were aborted for no other reason than being girls. This is the story of the year of the white horse. So in Korea, there used to be this widespread belief that there are certain years in the zodiac cycle where if a girl is born, that girl will have a strong will and therefore bring misfortune to their husbands, even shorten their husbands' lives. These years were mainly the years of strong animals like the horse, the dragon, and the tiger. But 1990 was a special year. It was the year of the white horse that comes every 60 years. And this was considered to be the worst year to have daughters. This was the worst of all the horse years. Girls born in this year would have the strongest will and would bring disaster to the men around them. And in the late 1980s and early 1990s, technology like ultrasounds made it easier for parents to learn whether the baby would be a boy or a girl. And preference for sons was still deeply ingrained. So, when Korean families found out they'd be giving birth to a girl in the year of the white horse, many decided to abort their babies. As a result, in 1990, South Korea's birth ratio for boys to girls hit a record level of 116.5 to 100, and this was while South Korea was already suffering from a big problem of gender imbalance, with each year seeing less girls than boys being born. Of course, not everyone went to abort their girls. Some went to elaborate lengths to avoid having a white horse daughter on paper. Girls born in early 1990 were sometimes registered as late 1989, while those born near the end of the year had their birth paperwork delayed until 1991, so their zodiac sign would officially change. Between 1990 and 1996, gender imbalance of babies got so bad that there were worries about a future with no women. But this didn't end. It happened again in 2002, the year of the black horse, at 109.9 boys to 100 girls, though the imbalance was smaller. And only by 2014, the year of the blue horse, the birth ratio improved to a certain degree, 105.3 boys to 100 girls. Now, superstitions exist everywhere. The real issue here was patriarchy. Because first, they didn't want strong-willed women and considered girls worthless if they weren't submissive. And second, they cared more about the well-being of men so much that they were willing to abort girls who could potentially bring imaginary harm to men in the future. And let me tell you, they never aborted boys for reasons like this, if at all. Had I been discovered to be a daughter in my mother's womb, I might not actually be here. And that, my friends, summarizes how they regarded girls with such little value. Also, important side note, it's been shown that when there is a gender imbalance with less women than men, birth rates tend to go down because, like I said before on another video, men can't give birth. Birth rates are inherently limited by the number of women. And that is yet another reason why it's not women's fault that the birth rate is so low. It's the patriarchy, stupid. And to me, that sets the context for why feminism in Korea was not only direly needed, but was inevitable, because as recently as 1990 and even 2002, women were considered so worthless by huge swaths of Korean society that many turned to abort them than to risk bringing completely made-up misfortunes to men around them. Oh, and shout out to all the Korean women born in the year of the white horse who had sensible parents or mothers, because in many cases it was the father and the family on the father's side that pressured the mother. Keep that fire inside you burning white hot.
The patriarchy is going to eat itself. all of these decisions made by men, for the benefit of men and boys, is biting us all in the butts. We're seeing collapsing birth rates for a reason, because women, now that we do have access to birth control, can go ahead and support ourselves financially. We don't want to bring children into this world because we're seeing all of the dangers. We're seeing the violence. We're seeing the lack of freedoms. We're seeing how men are chipping away at our rights simply because they can. And I think that we're in a find out season, but until more men get to the point where they see the dangers of and the harms of patriarchy, we're going to continue to see a society that is collapsing and eating itself. Go ahead and chime in and let me know what you think.